Who has the best chance to overtake Cincinnati for the crown of the AFC North? We're going to talk about it. Training camp has just kicked off, which means football is back, and there's all kinds of stories, questions, headlines as we get into week one of the season. So, we're going to just go over some of the biggest storylines and things that you should be keeping your eye on as we start going into the preseason games and eventually to the kickoff of the season. Pittsburgh Steelers are the first team I want to go over because they are just the epitome of consistency. Next to the Baltimore Ravens and a few other teams around the league, when you think about them and you see them on your schedule, you just know that they're going to show up prepared, they're going to show up with physicality, and it's never going to be one of those easy walk-away wins. What is the storyline to keep your eye on for Pittsburgh? I think it has to be Kenny Pickett taking that next jump going into year two. It's no guarantee, as you've seen time and time again, Zach Wilson. If you go into year one to year two, you just expect this big jump. And even if you look back at Josh Allen, he didn't really take off till year three, going into year four. If you go back and look at training camp stories of Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs, he had a lot of difficulty picking up the offense, reading defenses. Just becoming a professional is so much of what year one and year two really takes when you're a quarterback in the NFL. But when you look at Kenny Pickett's last year, a lot of things need to get cleaned up. But there were a lot of things that were promising. Touchdowns, I think he had like 7. Interceptions were almost in the double digits. I think it was like 9 or 10. And he had about 2,500 passing yards. So even though those numbers weren't great, he did not start right away. And I'm sure it took a while for him to get into a rhythm. But now with the full offseason as a professional, understanding the offense a little bit better, staying with the same scheme, I think that Kenny Pickett has a lot of potential to grow and really take, if not a big step, at least one in the right direction. Because if he can go out and still win 9 games playing like doo-doo, doo-doo-esque, I think there's a lot of potential for this team to get back into the double-digit win column if he's able to at least put a few more pieces together. But the Pittsburgh Steelers team overall, they have tons of weapons. Najee, you have George Pickens going into his year 2. You go get Allen Robinson, who we'll see if he has a bounce back from LA. Pat Freiermuth, Deontay Johnson is a receptions machine. And then, of course, the defense has always been their strength. Minkah Fitzpatrick, and you have TJ Watt, and you have Hayward. You go get Pat Pete from Minnesota. You draft Joey Porter Jr., who was my favorite corner coming into this rookie class. A lot of pieces that are there all lead to them not taking a step back, but maybe taking a step even more forward than they did this past year and maybe challenging the Bengals for that AFC North title. So that's the biggest storyline really for me. Can Kenny Pickett continue to develop, progress, and take the Steelers, back to the promised lands where they're always, used to being? But my pick for the AFC North is the Baltimore Ravens, man, because again, you talk about consistency, physicality, always having an identity to your team, both on offense and on defense. And that's been Baltimore, man. They made it to the playoffs last year with Snoop Huntley. Lamar wasn't even around, and their receivers weren't even that good. So for all the contract negotiations to be taken care of, for the defense to, I think, have improved, getting Roquan Smith, Trenton Simpson from Clemson. I'm dropping bars over here. Going and getting Odell Beckham, drafting Zay Flowers. You still have Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. The pieces are there. The storyline that I'm looking at the most is, what is Todd Monken, the new OC, going to bring to this offense? Coming over from the University of Georgia, where they did such a great job getting playmakers in space, having them in play calls that focused on separation, on top of Baltimore utilizing their identity, which is smash, mouth, run the ball football. Dropping bars again. So that's what I want to watch. What does this offense look like on top of what Lamar brings to the table with his running? On top of people, I don't know if they are still underestimating what this man can do through the air, but put those two together with how much he's developed as a passer and an OC who embraces spreading the ball around. I think that they have so much more that they could grow into on top of just the pieces that they've added. So that on top of the wide receiving room, man, like that's another big story for me. This is going to be the best group of weapons that Lamar has had to work with, I think, in his career. And if Rashad Bateman can get on the field and stay on the field, you still have Devin Duvernay, who was a great depth piece, and J.K. Dobbins and company in the backfield, Gus Edwards. Yes, they're still there, but how can they get more involved in the pass game to help this wide receiving room even more? So those are the storylines I'm looking at the most for Baltimore. I don't think they take a step back at all. If anything, they take over the AFC North from Cincinnati. But speaking of, they're the champs of the division until they're not anymore. And there's, of course, so many reasons why. Is it that team where you say Super Bowl or bust? And that to me is a storyline. When you have that title on your back, that target on your back, it creates a lot of pressure. And is it going to burst pipes or is it going to create diamonds? I am never going to bet against Joe Burrow, man. If it comes to pressure and handling it and using it as motivation to launch you forward, no other quarterback is more ready to do it than this man right here. On top of having some of the best weapons in the league, on having a defense that, yes, lost a couple of pieces, but have drafted what I think drafted really well to still carry that defense to pair on the offensive side of the ball as well. But the storylines and the things that I want to look at, not only in training camp, but going into the season, what is their mindset like? What is their mantra? How are they handling now that this has been a consistent thing over the last couple of years, going in with these expectations that if you don't make it to the Super Bowl or at least see Patrick Mahomes again in the AFC Championship game, do they start folding? Do they have a rough start? All those things I think play a crucial part is their mindset going into the season. And then last, how is this contract with T. Higgins going to play out? I'm pretty sure he's reporting to camp and everything is fine for the time being. But there have been rumors about him getting traded, rumors about him, possibly looking to get out of Cincinnati. Him and Jamar Chase are such a great combination, but he could be wide receiver one on a majority of teams in the NFL. So those are the things that I'm concentrating on as training camp kicks off. But of course, they're the champs until they're not. And I think that it is very, very likely that they get back to where they were last year or further, facing whoever's in the NFC in the Super Bowl. Now, a sneaky team that I think people are not talking enough about are the Cleveland Browns. And yes, everyone wants to do the same thing they say about, teams like the Jets and the Texans. Oh, they're the Browns. They're not going to be good. They have built a team that is ready to win now. Granted, they win 7 games because Jacoby Brissett was leading the ship until Deshaun handled his off-the-field issues. But now that that's done, it's over with. He probably has a clear mind to go into the offseason, learn the playbook, gain chemistry, and go into the season as a starter, not looking back. They go trade for Elijah Moore, who I think has so much untapped potential that he wasn't able to get to in New York. You still have Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Njoku at tight end. So many pieces to help him get the most out of their passing attack. And they arguably have the best running back in the league. So I think that there's an opportunity for them to get over that hump that they were able to get to when Baker Mayfield was there. And that was just getting to the playoffs. They also beat the Steelers in that first round. Can they get back to a place where they are getting over the hump again? And is this the beginning of Deshaun Watson's revival to when he was a top 5 quarterback in Houston. So that's all I have for the AFC North. I think it's going to be one of the more intriguing divisions to watch over the next few weeks because of these storylines. Let us know what you think. Go watch the other divisional videos, and we will catch you in the next one.